Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the Elizabethtown City Council work session for April 22nd, 2026 to order and ask Councilmember Micah Tyler if she'd lead us in the invocation, please.
Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we come before you today with grateful hearts, seeking your wisdom and guidance as we carry out the work entrusted to us on behalf of this community. Lord, bless this council with clarity of thought, fairness in judgment, and compassion in decision-making. Help us to always seek the common good, guided by truth and justice. We lift up in prayer all those who served and protect our brave first responders and the men and women of the military at home and abroad. May you grant them strength, safety, and peace. Shield them from harm and let their sacrifices be honored with deep gratitude. We ask your blessing on our dedicated city employees. Those daily efforts keep our community running smoothly and safely. May they be encouraged in their work and valued for their service. Bless the people of our city, especially those who are struggling with illness, grief, or hardship. May they feel your presence and be uplifted by kindness of neighbors and the care of this community.
And if you join me in the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Graham, if you'd please call roll.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Bishop.
Present.
Fulkerson.
Present.
Isaacs.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Springsteen.
Here.
Tyler.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. At this time, I would like to recognize and call on Elizabethtown Police Chief Jeremy Thompson to make an introduction for a promotion that we are about to do.
Just making sure that's on. A really quiet speaker. You'll have to apologize my shyness when I get up here. So thank you all for allowing us to be before you tonight for a special occasion. Oftentimes, when we do our promotions in the past, we would do those privately, so I appreciate the mayor and the council allowing us to do that publicly now, because this is not just a celebration for us internally at the police department, but it's a testament to the growth of our city, a testament to the growth of the department, and I think more importantly, the trust that the mayor, Ed, and the council have put in the leadership at the department to make sure that we get the plan in place to protect our city. And part of that plan has been growth and expansion. And tonight is another example of that in this promotion. So Lieutenant-to-be Michael Mertz, if you want to come up here, please, sir. Until he's sworn in officially here by the mayor just a second, Sergeant Mertz has been leading our newly created Flex Platoon, which has been a specialty unit as part of that growth we talked about, has done a phenomenal job in the 7 years that I've been here. Michael's worked patrol, he's worked our narcotics section undercover. He's worked a variety of positions as a sergeant, and now we're excited because he's going to join Lieutenant Austin Smith as the second patrol lieutenant. And then Lieutenant Kuklinski is going to move over to another unit that we'll talk about later. But tonight is a testament to the hard work that he put into this promotion process. So we're excited for him to take on a new role as the patrol lieutenant. So Mayor, if you want to get him sworn in.
Cameras work if you don't care just to stand on the other side of the podium. Okay, raise your right hand. Know ye that this day came Michael Mertz, who was by me duly sworn to the oath of office of lieutenant for the city of Elizabethtown by being ministered the oath of office, section 228 of the Constitution of Kentucky, in words as follows. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth, and be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky so long as I continue a citizen thereof, and that I will faithfully execute to the best of my ability the office aforesaid according to law. And I do further solemnly swear that since the adoption of the present Constitution, I, being a citizen of this state, have not fought a duel with deadly weapons within nor aided or assisted any person thus offending, so help me God.
I do.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Here, do me a favor. So Mrs. Graham doesn't get on me when I bring this back up here. I need you to sign these 2 pieces of paper. And then this one you keep. You are now a lieutenant.
Thank you, sir.
And I know you've got family here and some other police officers. If you all would like, if you don't mind, for John's sake, if everybody will come up and we'll grab a picture. All right, any family? Yeah, y'all come on up.
Anyone from the flight squad up here as well, please. I'm gonna do the family first, and I'll get you guys in there. All right.
And as always, Chief, I know your team is pretty busy, so they don't have to stay around for the rest of this if you want to cut them loose. Up next, we will have a presentation from Dara Bryant, who's a representative of Mission Hope for Kids, and she's going to tell you a little bit about what's going on with their organization and what they've been up to.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. Nellie sends her regrets. She's just a little under the weather and couldn't make it today. I know you guys would prefer to see her cute little face up here, but you get me instead today. And in a world where there's not a lot of good news going on, I have good news for you guys today. So Hope Academy, as you might know, was registered as a 501c3 in 2012, and it was known then as Mission Hope for Kids, which we all still call it that, right? So since that time, we've had several graduates. As you might know, our motto says, nurtured kids make better communities. And if you didn't know it, it's right here on my shirt. And I'm here today with some proof that that's exactly what we're doing. In the years since we've been in business as a 501c3, we've had no less than 15 high school graduates from within our student body. All those students began attending our program in elementary school and continued with us until they had successfully completed their high school years. The high schools from which these students have graduated span across Hardin County. We've had students from EHS, Central, North, John Hardin, and even homeschool graduates have proudly completed their journey as part of our Hope Academy family. 6 of these 15 have gone on to attend college and obtain bachelor's degrees, with 1 pursuing a postgraduate military career. The universities they've include Campbellsville, Western, and UK. There are 5 former students now attending college at ECTC, Morehead State, and Western. So that's nearly 3/4 of our graduates that have gone on to attend college over the years. As for our 2026 graduating class, we have 4 students currently that are enrolled and will be graduating. 1 is already gainfully employed after completing his homeschool curriculum. 1 will be enrolling in ECTC, One's heading to cosmetology school, and our remaining graduate has been part of the ROTC program in her high school, and she'll be enlisting in the U.S. Army. Hope Academy students are not only graduating high school, they're pursuing higher education and completing degrees, they're entering the workforce prepared and confident, and they're developing consistency, discipline, and leadership. I'm going to read a testimonial that was written by one of our graduates. We asked her to be here today to do this in person, but she's prioritizing her work and schooling over coming to meet with you good people. So I'll read this on her behalf. My name is Arianes. I'm a 2025 Elizabethtown High School graduate and currently on track to get my associate's degree at ECTC. Prior to graduating, I attended Hope Academy for 11 years, and it all started when I stepped foot into the gymnasium of Vaughn Reno Starks Community Center as a second grader who knew absolutely no English. In the midst of my parents' divorce, but I was still accepted into this amazing second family. Hope Academy grew into so much more than an after-school program. It became the most exciting part of my week, from when I was little all the way through my last year. The volunteers who were there became my role models, people I could turn to for advice or even just to have a simple conversation. And when I reached middle school, I went through a little bit of a rebellious phase. Nothing too wild, but I really thought I ruled the world when I was in 6th grade. During those years, I was given the chance to step up as a leader, someone that the other students could look to. And that opportunity taught me that I had a choice. I could set a good example, or I could waste the trust that had been placed in me. I've seen firsthand how much time, care, and effort that our volunteers pour into students like me, and none of it would be possible without the generosity of supporters. Donors allow people to show up for us, to guide us, and to help us grow into confident young leaders. Through my high school years, Hope Academy took the time and effort to prepare me for life after high school. Before graduating, they poured into me the tools I needed to continue my education at a higher level. My mentors helped me with tutoring, submitting my FAFSA, college scholarships, and even took time outside of Hope Academy to go to college visits with me. I thought it would have been easier than what people said it was. I was completely wrong. I've officially turned 18, and adulting is anything but easy. But I'll be forever grateful for the help, time, efforts, and overall just the love that Hope Academy gave me. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate that. We also appreciate Hope Academy. And I think whenever I think of that organization, the word that comes to my mind immediately is success. And success looks different in a lot of different ways. And you all seem to really inspire the kids that you interact with and find a way and a pathway for them to be successful. And so we appreciate that. And I will say that the council every year is very enthusiastic about finding ways to be able to find resources for you all and pitch in and help out. So we're glad to support Hope Academy, and we thank the work that you do and that Nellie does and that Shelley does and everybody that's involved with that. So thank you all very much. Up next is the North Downtown Neighborhood Plan, and our good friend Amy Williams from Taylor Siefker Williams is here to present that to you all, or talk to you about it.
Well, I'm excited to talk about the North Downtown Master Plan. It's been a fun effort over the last number of months, and it dovetailed into the downtown plan that you guys heard about just, I think, 2 weeks ago, right? So I'm going to run through kind of a presentation, not trying to take too much of your time, but if you have questions, by all means, stop me and we can go through anything. I'm going to run through a little bit of just the process and then the plan document. I'm also going to run through just a high level of all of the improvements and projects that are in the North Downtown Plan, and then the next steps as well. So this is similar to the idea of Haycraft, right? So it was created originally to say our CDBG funds, how do we focus those on the next round or the next area? And I think one great thing that was done within this, so I'll give your staff credit on that, is Haycraft really focused on those just CDBG projects, and the challenge or the charge with this was to definitely focus on those. But if there are other things, initiatives, programs that also the neighborhood wants, let's make sure we get those integrated and included, even if they're not CDBG funded or even if they're neighborhood-led events or ideas. So we did go through a process and looked at the backgrounds. We assessed the goals for the neighborhood. We looked at various improvements and projects, and then vetted that through an action plan and the final plan. So we started in September and wrapped up in March as we went through that. The document does have 3 different big sections: the setting the stage, which is your existing conditions. Starting on page 29 is the improvements. That has all of your improvements and then the projects that go with those improvements. And then starting on page 73 starts to talk about those, the actual action plan in terms of implementation. We did have engagement, and that's documented in the plan as well. We had 2 community workshops. Those were pretty well attended, and the neighbors were excited to be there and tell us their thoughts and ideas and what they wanted for the neighborhood. So we did get some great feedback there. We also did kind of our own analysis. We went through and looked at what are the strengths and weaknesses, opportunities, threats were. And then we also looked at a lot of the existing conditions. So each of those topics in the plan have a narrative description of those various, pieces and parts of the neighborhood. And if those could be mapped, we went ahead and mapped those existing conditions too. We did come up with 5 different kind of broad topics that all of our improvements and projects fall under. So looking at that infrastructure that is out there, that's kind of our base need, right? But also looking at walkable, making sure, again, that was something definitely we heard about. So the second topic is really about those walkable connections. Identity and design, and again, extending that kind of urban and downtown idea and design characteristics, and transitioning that to more of the neighborhood scale there. Balanced development, and again, this does include Mulberry. So that's a different kind of development than maybe, what's on Main Street or Williams or something of that nature. And then really the idea of that neighborhood pride. And this is where it comes to that neighborhood initiatives. People were really proud of being from this area. They wanted to even have more identity amongst themselves. And so what can we start to do to empower them in a good way for Yard of the Month or whatever it may be? Each of the improvements as you go through the plan has a big title at the top of what improvement number it is. It also has, it relates back to those goals, so we know which goals support which improvement projects. Also has a narrative of those, and then if it could be mapped, we put those on a map to make it easier, or graphics, it might be cross sections, it might be something, illustrations of some sort. And then that last section goes through the timeline. So trying to start to program out some of the CDBG funds and identify where other funds may be needed. And a lot of those other funds are pushed further in the future, knowing that you guys have some big projects coming up, some great things that are going to build momentum elsewhere. And so we really focus on those CDBG funds first, and then any other bigger projects would come further down the road. We also have a cost range on those. Again, you can do things a lot of different ways, right? You redo a sidewalk with concrete versus brick pavers. Those are different costs there. So they do have some, again, just a range of those so that you can start to anticipate that as you go through budgeting. And then there is in that section, again, and you have a version of that kind of modified in 11 by 17 for you guys too. Those capital projects that do take, again, more of the capital dollars here, kind of programmed out, and I'll explain a little bit of that as we go through this here too. But it identifies it over the range of fiscal years, so starting in 26 and moving on, which your fiscal year will start here soon. Spoiler, we didn't program really a lot of funds other than CDBG the first couple of years again. So, and then again, that just kind of walks through year. So I'm going to run really quickly through those different improvement projects just so that you guys will at least be aware of what's in this plan. But we did hear a lot of great input. Some things that kind of stuck out though is, in terms of road infrastructure, about 3/4 of the people talked about speeding along Main. So that was definitely a hot topic. We also talked about lighting, which was an interesting one once we mapped those existing conditions. 80-something% thought that they needed more lighting. We mapped it and we're like, there's a lot of lights though. So there's some pockets of lights, right? So there's some areas maybe, but it's not an overall neighborhood issue, but we've got some targeted areas where we can do some filling in of gaps, right, along there. And then connectivity was a big thing. People want to be able to walk to downtown easily and safely. So there were 14 different improvements in the plan. Each have maybe 1 or 3 or 4 projects underneath it. Main Street was the biggest one. It's the first one, and there are 3 projects under that. So the first one is looking at intersections, especially the one at Main and Crutcher and Main and Williams, those 2 intersections. The second project in there is to narrow those lanes because they ask you to drive a little faster, being so wide. So there are a couple of options in there. You could do it with some striping, or you can do it with physical, a median. There's options in there. Obviously, cost implications, and there's a few things to be talked through on there, but the idea is we need to narrow those travel lanes so we don't have a 14-foot, travel lane that you can kind of speed down. And that final project really builds off of your Safe Streets for All that you guys already completed, and really doing that neighborhood traffic management plan. Second project is alleys. Vega and Quince were definitely identified as, again, just starting to go through those and clean them up. You guys do a great job with keeping that trash and debris out, but really trying to make those a little bit more friendly. That was something else we heard from the neighbors, possibly McLeod Place. There's debate on if it's an alley or not. And then the second one was just more of a clean and clear initiative. Again, you guys do a good job of keeping those clean and clear, but that can also fall back on the neighbors to help a neighborhood-wide initiative. That third project was about sidewalks and trails. So we did identify a priority and kind of different timelines of those, but Crutcher Street was the higher priority for the new sidewalks there, followed by Williams, Brown, and Warfield. Those were ones that really just need some connections or don't have them. And then there's a few little bitty pieces here and there, but those were the main streets. And then also crosswalks. There were a couple different places we identified as, again, just whether it's an ADA transition ramp or, truncated domes or whatever it may be, but to improve some of those crosswalks at a couple of intersections that were identified. The last 2 on there then also involved getting across the railroad, which we know is always a challenge. No matter what community you're in, it's always a challenge to cross a railroad. So these are maybe bigger ideas, long-term ideas, but it was the idea of improving a railroad crossing at Crutcher. So right there to kind of get back down to Haycraft, right? But then the big dream of maybe there could be a new crossing one day at William Street. We know it can't be at grade because that's just not going to be realistic. That's a big idea, a big dream, but we also know the reality of it's happening now. And as more great things get built on the other side of that railroad, more people are going to want to just cross the railroad tracks. So the fourth one was about bike racks and installing those in a couple key places, not everywhere. The fifth was about coordinating our water and wastewater upgrades. Again, if we're going to tear something up for that, we might as well put the new road or sidewalk in while we're doing it. The sixth one was about gateway and placemaking. So each town has an existing wayfinding plan. So it's maybe taking a few of those items and, again, helping with that community pride into identifying, giving the neighborhood a little bit more identity with either a sign or a banner. 7 was about dilapidated buildings and maintenance. It's a little bit different from Haycraft, where there were more individual lots that maybe needed to be rehabilitated or redone. There's a lot less of those here, but the city is already doing, I know, the pre-approved building plans. I love that. That helps to streamline the process and get the smaller builders to be able to do those things. But also looking at a home repair program, a property improvement program, and a maintenance program as well. That could be integrated into that. And then the 8th one is a design guidelines. So while you have design guidelines for the core of downtown, we don't always look at, or we haven't really looked at those around, the neighborhood areas. And so these actually could be applied to the multiple neighborhood areas around downtown. But we looked at a number of different guidelines within that. Everything from kind of character, architectural style, parking, lighting, porches, that's a big thing. And so really, again, if anybody's going to utilize funding from CDBG, we want to try to encourage these characteristics. We want to have the front porches and encourage that socialization, right? And that sort of thing. So we have outlined, that's probably a dozen pages at least, and actually outlined all the guidelines as well. There's an example page of those. So each one of those is outlined on kind of what that guideline should be. Commercial transitions was another topic or an improvement here. There's not a lot of action that needs to be done on it, but there's definitely a desire of those businesses along Mulberry to be part of the neighborhood. We can't dictate if it's a small business or a national chain, but just encouraging those local businesses so that it is something that the neighborhood can walk to and enjoy and they can patronize. The 10th one was about a pocket park. So there was a desire to have a pocket park, nothing big. People kind of referenced the idea of haycraft or something smaller just for the neighborhood to gather in, but having some sort of play area, some open area that the neighborhood can really kind of enjoy. And 11 was looking at the community garden that's there. Again, that's not a city project or anything, but it could be a partnership. Folks really wanted to look at maybe expanding it or improving it in ways too. So that could be a partnership that's maybe not taken on by the city, but others in the neighborhood. And then 12 was looking at a liaison group. This is something we kind of went back and forth on, but giving those residents the ability to hopefully take some of those things like property improvement or, I mentioned Yard of the Month, let them lead that, right? Those things that the city doesn't need to lead, but then they also can attend those meetings when we have public meetings for whatever project it may be. So giving them a conduit. 13 was about public art and murals. And so helping, again, this is something else that liaison group could lead, is how do we start to look at more local art within the neighborhood, and folks really like that idea, whether it is a crosswalk or it's something of that nature. It could be even painting. A lot of communities will paint the traffic signal cabinets or put wraps on them. And then the last one was those community-led events. So things that the community wanted it could be a seasonal decorations. They wanted to extend those from downtown, but knowing that you can't put anything on the street light poles currently. And there's probably a lot of effort. So it might be a neighborhood-led effort if they want those decorations to extend into the neighborhood. A tree program, and again, the Yard of the Month program is something that brought up just to help promote that community pride. So what is next? A lot of great things are next. In the next couple of years, so we'll finalize anything to this master plan and really that next step, organizing and programming that future funding. So that's the biggest one. So they're looking at the 2026 funds, which would go into 2027. Those to really look and doing a drainage plan. That was something that came up with the department heads. We met with all the department heads about a month and a half ago, maybe. And they had said, okay, we had to do a small drainage plan for the sidewalk project over here, and then something else. And I was like, we should just look at the whole neighborhood. It makes more sense to do it once, right? And to do it right. So looking at a drainage plan with this next fiscal year, and then some environmental planning that's just required for those grants, and the remaining funds for the West Railroad sidewalk. In addition to that, looking at the 2026 is that Project 1B, so it's the narrowing of lanes. So the idea is in 2026, you just need to decide what options you want, right? Are you going to stripe it? Are you actually going to put something physical in there like a median? So there's not really any funding that's needed in 26 for that, but it's a deciding process. Then in the 27 to 28 fiscal year, that's where we're looking at. You would start design on that main street and the two intersections because they go together and they could be bid together then, starting maybe in 28 possibly. So those Main Street really was the first project out of here we had identified, in addition to there's some setting the stage with that drainage plan, the miscellaneous environmental documentation you have to do with these grants, and finishing up that West Railroad sidewalk. So those are the next immediate items. And then again, it was followed by prioritizing some of those alleyways and sidewalks. And then those future funds pushed out to 2032 maybe that require outside funds outside of CDBG, so that you guys have enough time to program and get all the other great things you're doing wrapped up possibly before then. So I can go through anything in detail, but I know you had an agenda there and didn't want to take up too much time, so you get out on time.
Not to put you on the spot, and I know you didn't cover it, but talk a little bit about the discussion you all had along the creek front.
Which one?
Go back behind the courthouse.
Oh, for the downtown plan? Yes, yes. So this does kind of dovetail into the downtown plan, which Bronte was here 2 weeks ago to kind of talk about. And what the mayor's referencing is there was a lot of suggestions to the point I was like, Aaron, did you tell everybody? Because it is not a project I thought of, in every focus group, everybody said it. The idea of extending the trail along behind the creek, behind the court building, all the way down, and it would connect eventually to like future city hall area. So the idea that this is kind of, it's not just a trail, it's a little bit more, right? So we've called it a boardwalk or promenade, or it's not just couple feet of asphalt here. The idea, though, is we can engage with the creek, and we know that area floods, so there's a lot of initial coordination that's going to be needed. But the idea is there's a lot of properties that back up to that we hope to really be able to engage, and those properties can really become part of a core of downtown as City Hall complex kind of happens, and you've got the downtown, you've got the square, the new hotel, and that connection along the road, but also the creek. So those properties can really front the creek development with dining and fun things of that nature, and then also front, the actual street as well. So the idea is extending, again, from basically, I'll call it Dixie, but we would want to get under the bridge somehow, all the way over towards the new City Hall complex. And then there is, I think, a soft surface trail in the Trails Master Plan that can connect out into the county as well.
Thank you. And back to the north downtown plan. You mentioned a little bit about another railroad crossing at Crutcher Street.
Yep.
I hope you all have a good plan to talking the railroad into allowing us to have another crossing.
Yeah, we talked about that, and we said, you know what, tough. We're going to put it in the plan, knowing it's a big dream that, probably won't necessarily happen. But I think it's the idea that people are crossing it now. I mean, you guys go out there, you'll see people. Now that Buffalo Lake Trails come online, and then when the amphitheater comes online, it's just going to perpetuate it. So I agree with you 100%, Mayor.
No, it makes a lot of sense, and I think it would be great. It's just usually what the feedback that we get from the railroad is how can we get rid of crossings as opposed to adding
They do
one.
not want new ones. And we talked internally that, again, it's probably maybe not even at grade. It could be, you know what I mean? It might have to be above their.
Well, Terry Ship behind you there, he's a big believer in
or
tunnels.
Under.
He
I know,
likes tunnels.
The other one. Tunnels get a little scarier too sometimes from a safety perspective. But yeah, you're probably not going to walk across the tracks, is my guess, because they're not going to, unless you close 5 others, they're not going to let you do that, unfortunately. But I think it was just the idea of a lot of that's happening now, and acknowledging that it's probably going to increase, but that's why it's pushed out into 2033 plus. That's going to take a decade of coordination just to get them to talk about it, probably.
Anybody else have questions for Amy?
Okay.
As always, thank you, and we value our friendship with Taylor Siefker Williams.
Great job on all of the amazing things y'all are doing. So I think it's impressive. So
thank you, ma'am. Up next, Corey's already standing up with his cane. Update on the wastewater treatment plant expansion with Prime AE, Andrew Bolin, and Jim Haggerty.
Yes, I'll just introduce them. They're the engineers we've hired for the facility plan and looking to move forward with the design phase of this plan. But I will let them talk about that. So come on up, gentlemen.
Thanks, Corey. Make sure that I can use this. I can. Wonderful. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Andrew Bowen. I'm the Director of Water and Wastewater with Prime AE. Here today with Jim Haggerty, our discipline leader for wastewater. Very excited to be speaking to this council today. I was very happy to hear in that last presentation on Envision North Downtown, the word momentum used several times. I think that's a common theme throughout this meeting, a lot of momentum, a lot of strong growth, onward and upward. For this discussion, I really wanted to get into what we have been doing recently. Prime AE got involved in the upcoming wastewater treatment plant expansion project last year.
with an update to the facility plan for that treatment plant. This next phase will require approximately 16 months of design work. It's going to include new wastewater processes at the treatment plant. It's going to include new basins for the expansion of that treatment plant and new buildings. But importantly, it's also going to rehabilitate and improve existing structures to the extent that we can. A big part of this project, this planning project, included a condition assessment of the existing treatment plant equipment and buildings and structures. So we've really tried to come up with a plan forward that makes the most of what you have while also expanding and improving those treatment processes. The design work, this upcoming work, will be a multidiscipline effort. I really just wanted to talk a little bit about the different disciplines that will be involved, including architects. We have civil engineers working on pipelines, structural engineers, site civil engineers, electrical and instrumentation. We're going to have construction management and inspection professionals involved, as well as building mechanical, HVAC and plumbing, and process mechanical, people working on the actual treatment of wastewater. We've submitted to Ed 2 separate contracts. We're going to talk about those just a little bit. They include a contract for professional engineering services for the design of the plant expansion, and separately, a contract to conduct on-site pilot testing of some solids dewatering equipment. And Jim will get into that. Here's a follow-up. The facility plan that we updated last year has been submitted to the Kentucky Division of Water, and it's in the middle of that review process. We got some update on that on Friday, so I'll let Jim talk to that a little bit.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Councilman. Jim Haggerty, as Andrew said, I'm the head of the Water and Wastewater Group Discipline Leader. We submitted the draft facility plan back in December of 22, December 22nd of last year, 25. And the purpose of this plan is to get concurrence with the state, and it also gives you access to state revolving loans and interest and grants. And one of the grants you got as part of the economic development was the $30 million, but this will also give you potential for additional grants and low interest loans through the state to help fund the project and reduce. Yes, yes, every community needs it, and it's a good program. Typically drops interest rate over commercial rates by, it can be as much as 2.5%, which provides a significant value to a community. We did just last Friday receive a semi-approval. They allowed us, gave us permission to go to public hearings. A part of the facility plan is you have to inform your citizens of the plan and why your improvement, and it allows us, it means they've looked at the plan and what we submitted and have basically given us a first step approval to go to the facility plans, and we'll be working with Ed and Corey on scheduling that public hearing on the plan. We're probably still another 6 months away from final adoption by the Division of Water, but this is one of the more significant steps in getting approval of the plan. And to talk a little bit about the plan, we looked at several options. I can talk to you all night long about what each option was, but there were really 3 options out there. One was to build a new treatment plant and then go to the Nolan River with a discharge. With that plan was in the neighborhood of $150 to $180 million, and it didn't really include rehab of your existing plant. The other 2 options we looked at was a retrofit expansion of your existing plant, both biologically and chemical, and then and those were really the 3 options we looked at. We ended up, and the goal was to expand your plant to 18 MGD. That's expanding by 5 MGD, your current capacity of the plant, and going to a peak hydraulic capacity of 42 million gallons a day through your plant. Also to address some operational issues that you have at the plant, to relocate your existing Wet weather storage basins, we're going to do that, get them away from the existing place and make them much more functional for your operations, and to deal with some operational issues that the staff identified. The final plan was to use biological treatment to treat for your expansion and also to treat for new regulatory standards that you have to meet. And the real reasons we went to that option, one was it saved you significant capital savings. It saved significant operational costs too, because we were able to reduce your discharge limits or increase your discharge limits to higher standards by the way we did it, and that'll reduce your capital costs. We also eliminated having to go to the Nolan River with the discharge. We were allowed to expand at the existing Valley Creek discharge, so we could discharge right next to your creek, next to your plant, save approximately $8 to $10 million in pipeline costs. We also did a full rehab, evaluation of your treatment facility and looked at repurposing and reusing all the existing infrastructure to the maximum, and that's also another advantage. So part of this plan is we're going to rehab your existing facilities to give it another 20-year life within it, and that's all included in the budget. Some of the significant elements of it, I don't think this has a pointer, but in the top left hand, we're going to provide a new operations and maintenance facility for your staff, one to improve operations, but also to provide a large maintenance facility so you all can take a lot of your all's equipment maintenance in-house and reduce costs from going out to outside resources. We're going to provide a new wet weather basin, storage basin. We're going to bring that on site and make it much more usable, and that'll help reduce the cost by limiting how much flow we got to put any peak hour into the plant. And then finally, we're going to build new processes to help you all treat the expanded flow for all the growth that's happening to your city. And we're going to do it biologically. We're going to use natural elements to do that. And that really reduces the amount of chemical and sludge we have to produce. So it provides you a lot of advantages to that. With that, we'll hand it over to Andrew to kind of go through the last parts.
Yeah, so going back to those two upcoming contracts, the first for the both the design and procure a contractor to construct improvements for the next phase, the actual construction of the improvements at the treatment plant. This bulleted list here, it generally outlines the scope. It's not unlike most engineering design contracts. The very last bullet I will speak to a little bit, project delivery method review. A project of this size, we think it's a good idea to have a look at all the different procurement methods you might consider for something like this. And that's going to be part of our scope as well. When we look at the schedule here, I'm showing that facility plan approval. We're anticipating that in the third quarter of 2026. That'll overlap a little bit with the beginning of our design services. By the end of 2026, we will have completed the evaluation of different project delivery methods. I have in parentheses here CMR, that's construction manager at risk. That's one that we want to be in. We're very interested in feeling out and understanding better. If you're going to go with that sort of a contract delivery method, a procurement of a contractor would happen early in the design step so that that contractor is available to help review the work that we're doing on the design side. Once that design is finished and we're able to get our permits in, that little green square there is the bidding process. And then we're showing construction beginning in 2028 and carrying through to the middle of 2031. This is an estimate right now based on the work that we see here. But it's a big effort, and that's how we're seeing the schedule looking here over the next couple of years. The other contract is for the evaluation of dewatering processes. So this is, I included two photos here. Actually, Jim provided these to me. The top photo is of a belt filter press. The bottom photo is of a centrifuge system. These are two different ways you could take the sludge that you're collecting off the bottom of your tanks and get water out of it. Usually when you're disposing in a landfill, you're paying by pound, and the more water you can get back out, the better it is for your bottom line. So these different dewatering methods, I really just show these images to show that they're very different. They're pretty complex. They take different building footprints. They take different considerations. And it's one element of this design that, when Jim and I were talking about it, we thought the earlier we can decide the direction to go on sludge dewatering, it's just going to set up everything else so we're not potentially doing work we might have to do again. So that's the reason we're suggesting moving forward with a project to pilot different pieces of equipment to see which works better for your plant. Each plant's different. We know manufacturers of both these types of processes that can provide really good systems. It's really just a matter of finding the right one for your plant, for your needs. And that's all that we had today. Any questions for Jim or I?
Time you get this constructed, it'll be outdated.
We try to design for a 30-year design life. So the hope is that we will have a few decades left.
With the growth of E-Town, I don't know, Corey. Well,
Sounds great. Appreciate all the work. We look forward to continue to watch how it evolves.
Thank you all.
I'll tell you, Marty, we always get on Chief Thompson or Chief Malone or Don Hill about the cost of their departments. I think Corey's getting ready to.
Corey swings for the fences. It's needed, though.
he only does it every 30 years, though, right? Jeremy tries to do it every year.
Okay, we'll open the floor to public comments. Seeing none, we have some city council information items. The next city council meeting will be May 4th, 2026. I also want to wish a happy birthday tomorrow to Councilwoman Julia Springsteen. I have no idea what her age is, and I'm not going to guess, but I know it's young. So happy birthday to you tomorrow. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you, Mayor.
Couple of things that I want to address real quick, if I could. Officer Denham with the E-Town Police Department has been working in conjunction with Helping Hand of Hope and Hope Burke, who runs Helping Hand of Hope, and they have come up with a extension of Helping Hand's organization called Pathway Home. And what that is a lot of times we see people that are marooned or stuck for whatever reason in the city, and when especially our police department encounters them, or anybody, any of our organizations that helps people that are down on their luck and need a hand up encounters them, they simply just need a way to get home. And a lot of times that's by providing a bus ticket, or it may involve renting a hotel room for the night, getting them a meal, and getting them a bus ticket for the next day. And so we've seen a need for that frequently, and they have started an account through Helping Hand of Hope that will allow people, if they would like, to donate to that and give us the opportunity to get these people back where they came from, where they have family, where they have services that can help take care of them. And so we thought that that was a really great idea, and appreciate Officer Denham and Hope Burke doing that. So Amy's going to post something on social media, if she hasn't already, here pretty soon, to show people how they can contribute or help with that, or volunteer, however they want to put a hand out for everybody. And so we're excited about that. I also want to talk a little bit about American Legion Park. A lot of people, if they're not familiar with it by that name, is where Funtopia is. And we have been doing a lot of work up there, as many know, in the past year, from new pavilion and bathrooms, sidewalks, shade structures. The park really looks different now. And so they're actually ahead of schedule on that construction. And for all intents and purposes, it is done. And so I'm making that announcement that the park is back open. We want people to go up there and enjoy the pool when it opens, and pickleball and Funtopia, and take a picnic up there and enjoy the new pavilion. And we do have standalone bathrooms up there now, and some shade structure for people that want to watch others play pickleball, or watch their kids or grandkids or nieces or nephews or whatever it may be at Funtopia. So it's a really nice addition. And we're really excited to have that up there for this summer. So I wanted to make that announcement as well. And other than that, I don't have anything else. You all?
Hey, Mayor, I do want to make a note. I got the opportunity the other day to do work ethics certification interviews over at Central, and it was I really enjoyed watching how many representatives from the city were there to help with that process. I think it's awesome that we get to interact with our young people and give them some valuable experience that hopefully will bring them back to our community. We had multiple departments represented, and I just think it's, as we've tried to teach our kids that not everybody needs college, a four-year degree, that there are plenty of opportunities in the city. They require advanced training, maybe beyond high school, but there are a ton of opportunities to be really successful right here. And I noticed even on our Facebook page, some other things that different departments have been doing with our schools, and I just think that's a vital connection for us.
Well, as we always say, and I appreciate you pointing that out, and we're always proud of our city folks that go and participate in that, but talent retention is as important or more important than talent recruitment a lot of times. And so all the things that we do, this council does, this staff does for the city of Elizabethtown has those things in mind. So when people say, heck, why are they putting that in, or why are they doing this at that park, or why are they putting that amenity in? Well, a lot of times it leads to talent retention. We're keeping our good people here, and they want nice things, and they want nice things to do, and it just makes our city better. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Central Hardin does a great job, or the Hardin County Schools do a great job of having that program available to seniors when they're going out into the workforce or going to college, either one.
Did you intimidate any of them, being former principal?
That was one of the great things about that, is I had no responsibility for discipline there at all.
Anybody else? Okay, well, the good news is we are not going closed session today, so to conclude the meeting, I just need a motion and a second to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much for coming today.